Canada investigating the possibility of airdrops, while Muslim groups won't let MPs in until they call for a Gaza ceasefire. This is the Great White North Report.
I'm in love with the system, never going home. I'm in love.
So Canada's investigating the possibility of aid airdrops into Gaza. Jordan has collaborated with the UK, Netherlands, and France on previous drops. And this is in response to what's going on in the Gaza Strip. For those who don't know, Hamas decided to launch a major raid into Israel proper, killing over 1,200 people. Some of them were also foreign internationals. And then they kidnapped 250 other people and dragged them back into their lair, in their tunnel networks. Israel did what any country would do. They declared war on Hamas, and they began preparations for a massive invasion. Israel is winning that war. Hamas is broken. They're running. So Canada is looking to provide aid for the 2 million odd people that are right now stuck in Gaza and can't get out, because Israel has closed off their borders. There are 3 borders, 2 land and one sea border. And Egypt does not want them either. Egypt has closed off their border because they don't want the Gazans spilling out into the Sinai. Hamas has scurried back to their tunnels and is letting their own people take the brunt of the assaults. Hamas appears every so often and fires rockets and whatnot from behind buildings, schools, mosques, cemeteries, even wherever. Literally hundreds of kilometers of tunnels under the Gaza Strip. It's nothing new. National Geographic did an article on it, I think 10 years ago. So it is nothing new. So Canada is looking to play a role in the possible airdrop of aid. I don't know why, because right now Israel is winning the war and they're about to finish it off in Rafah. Israel is looking into evacuating people from Gaza, especially Rafah, into areas that are under their control. But the problem Israel faces is, will they let Hamas members slip through the net? Many Hamas members will hide in the civilian population and take advantage of Israel's morality in letting people get through to safety. And that's the big dilemma. You don't want the big fish to slip out of the net, especially that Sinwar guy. So that has stopped Israel from opening its border and allowing people out. I would let all the women and children out, but then that goes without saying. You look at the Egyptian side of the border, it's pretty heavily armed. Egypt does not want to let anyone through the border. They don't want that disaster, dumpster fire waiting to happen in the Sinai. They've already fought their war against Hamas and the Muslim Brotherhood in the Sinai. They don't need that again. But our International Development Minister, Ahmad Hussein, which is another useless cabinet post, which costs us money, said that countries like Netherlands and the United Kingdom have collaborated already with the Jordanian Air Force on similar actions, and Canada is looking at the possibility and feasibility of doing the same. They want to avert mass starvation in northern Gaza and beyond. Well, call for Hamas to lay down their arms. Hussein recently traveled to Jordan and the Egyptian border with Gaza. He described what he saw in Gaza as a really dire situation. Well, did he travel to Israel? Did he look at it from the Israeli perspective? Probably not. Again, they go through these numbers. October 7th, Hamas militants attacked Israel, killed approximately 1,200 people, and took roughly 250 others hostage. Had they not done that, we wouldn't be sitting where we are today over there. Now, since then, Israeli strikes have killed approximately 29,000 people, according to Gaza's Hamas-led health authority. Why do they keep parroting the Hamas numbers by their health minister authority? They probably don't even know. They're just guessing, and they're probably adding all the militants that have died. Have civilians died? Without a doubt. It's a war. Hamas made a huge raid, killed a lot of people, kidnapped others, and Israel declared war. This is a war. This is not a tit-for-tat raid. Israel has now laid down the gauntlet, taken both hands behind their back, because they've been fighting Hamas with both hands behind their back this entire time. Now they've got both hands out, and they're really hitting Hamas hard. Hamas miscalculated the reaction. And the people of Gaza, who once cheered every time a Jewish person was killed or kidnapped, now they're facing the consequences of their actions. So I have no sympathy for them in that sense. Now, the World Food Program suspended aid shipments to northern Gaza, citing complete chaos and violence due to the collapse of civil order. Again, Hamas militants will go through. They'll take what they need. Groups of people will also take what they need and hoard it and not share it out. There's a lot of corruption within the system, and there's a lot of chaos, right? I saw one video where they're just throwing it off the truck. So he said a significant amount of aid is waiting in Egypt and Jordan for delivery. Wait a minute, why is it waiting in Jordan? Jordan's far away. That's geographically not right. Only unlimited can be shipped through the land border to Gaza. What are you talking about? Egypt controls the land border. They control the Rafah side. They could open the doors. But they don't want to. This is a very misleading article when it says Jordan. Jordan is so far away from Gaza, they would have to ask Israeli permission. Israel has aid trucks waiting too. So they want to think about airdrops. Now they're awaiting the outcome of the UNRWA probe. Like, come on. I've seen videos from 6-7 years ago about UNRWA's supporting Hamas and the problems that are there. UNRWA should be abolished. Now, CBC reported earlier that Canada has not seen evidence. Christ, you just look on YouTube, you see all the evidence. It's not surprising. We know that UNRWA employees support Hamas, and Hamas controls the teachers' union and the workers' union. So anyone that UNRWA employs locally is going to be on Hamas's payroll through the unions. Use your head, CBC. Christian Paslang should use his goddamn head. Common sense. So we've been pausing UNRWA, and we still send another $40 million in aid for Gaza. I'd rather see that $40 million go to Ukraine or go into our own military. I am sick and tired of supporting UNRWA and the Gaza Strip, the people of Gaza. It's money wasted in a lot of sense. Yes, I'm sorry they're starving. They brought it upon themselves by not accepting what was offered to them way back in 36 and in 48, or in 2005 when Israel pulled out of Gaza in exchange for peace. They hoped to have peace by pulling out of Gaza. They uprooted Jewish Israeli citizens who some of them had lived in Gaza for centuries, and they were uprooted and moved against their will. They left their homes, left everything, and Hamas came in and destroyed it all. But we're sending $40 million into aid organizations that are helping people in the Gaza Strip after pausing funding to the UN's Relief Agency for Palestinians. Even as one MP warns the UN agency is the only one capable of delivering the aid Gaza needs. No, it isn't. It's the most corrupt thing in the world. A lot of that aid will probably end up in Hamas's hands or on the black market. So it's going to bring $100 million, as Otto condemns what it calls inflammatory rhetoric from Israeli government officials. Bullshit. Again, they started a war, they better damn deal with the consequences. They start a war, they get a little hurt, and they come running to us. The Ukraine war has real implications to Canadians as part of our NATO commitments. If Ukraine falls, what's to stop the Russians from going after Latvia and Lithuania next? Not a heck of a lot. But anyway, Muslim group says MPs won't be welcome in mosque until they call for a Gaza ceasefire. Big deal. Canada calls for a ceasefire. Israel's not going to listen, and if I was an Israeli, I wouldn't listen either. This is the problem we have with the Muslim population in Canada. Trudeau has done nothing but appease them in order to gain their votes. Our immigration policies have allowed more and more Muslims to immigrate to Canada. Most of the time, there's nothing wrong with that, but political Islam is a very dangerous thing for Canada, and appeasing Muslims is not a good idea. Islam is not compatible with democracy or Western thinking. It really isn't. Islam is not compatible with human rights. It's not compatible with women's rights. It's not compatible with the LGBTQ. I'm sorry to say. And here they are. In a letter to MPs, Muslim groups call for restoration of UNRWA funding and condemnation of Israeli war crimes. Again, they completely whitewash what Hamas has been doing for years. They cheer when Hamas made that raid. These are the same people. And I, for one, say no. Do not restore UNRWA funding. In fact, I'm with Israel. Their plans for after the war, they're going to have to take over Gaza again for security reasons to make sure that it's fully demilitarized. And they're going to be in charge of education, and UNRWA will be kicked out of Gaza, which is rightly so. UNRWA has done nothing. It should be disbanded. After 75 years, what has UNRWA done? UNRWA has not found homes for the refugees. They have not diminished the number of refugees. In fact, they have grown the number of refugees and more money. It's costing foreign donors so much money to keep these people in refugee status, which is very demoralizing and demeaning to these people. I wouldn't want to be a refugee that long. I would have said to hell with it. I'd find some other place to live. Israeli war crimes, eh? What about the Hamas war crimes? So a national Muslim organization said several local congregations are warning members of parliament they won't be welcome in the mosque until they call for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza and demand restoration of funding for the UN's aid organization and condemn what they call Israeli war crimes. No, wouldn't do it any of them. All three. National Council of Canadian Muslims. Yeah, the Canadian Muslim. Right. MPs refuse to make these pledges public and will not be provided with a platform to address our congregations. In fact, so they're going to withhold their votes. You know who's going to be the first to buckle? It'll be Singh. Singh will be all over that. He'll be happy to call for a ceasefire and funding for the UNRWA. Just so he can get more votes to stay alive. Ramadan is about humanity. This Ramadan more than ever. Only those MPs who share in our commitment to humanity will be welcome to address us in our sacred places. First of all, Ramadan is a pagan ritual. Was a pagan festival. So Ramadan is about humanity? No. Right. You know, these Muslims don't complain so much when China puts 2 million of them in concentration camps, or the issues with in Sudanese, or the issues with the Houthi in Yemen, Boko Haram in Nigeria, what's going on in Central Asia as well, Hezbollah. They don't call out any of these groups. Hamas, they don't call them out. But they call out when it's Israel. Oh yeah, they call it the Jews every time. This is why I don't believe we should allow more people from Gaza and the West Bank into Canada, simply because they're anti-Semitic to begin with. We're trying to stamp out anti-Semitism in Canada, or at least diminish it, and here we are letting more of them in. More people who hate Jews in. I have nothing against the Jewish people. I'm a Christian. Jesus was Jewish, so he couldn't have been. They can't all be that bad. Letter also released today says MPs must oppose the flow of arms and military equipment to Israel and stand up for the right of Canadians to express solidarity with the Palestinian people without fear of reprisal. What are they talking about? They've done so many demonstrations, more so than anything else, against Israel, right from the start. And they've been getting more and more violent and belligerent about it. The Canadian Council of Imams. First of all, I would not allow any imams from the old world here to Canada. In fact, they should be regulated. Look around the world. Britain is having a real problem with Islam right now. For context, there's 1.6 billion Muslims in the world today. 15 to 25% of them are what you call radical. Do the math. And when you mean radical, meaning they are far-right conservative Muslims who believe that everything in the Quran, in the Hadith, and the Tafsirs should be done. So everything that was written basically in the 9th-10th century being redacted upon the 7th century. So they want to bring that back to into Canada. No, thank you. To stop the killing. What killing? Killing Hamas? Once Hamas is done, that's it. They're not calling for the surrender of Hamas. And that's what bothers me the most. They are not calling out Hamas for starting this war. So I would say no. But Trudeau is such a panderer. And he knows he's going to lose the next election because now he's going to lose the Muslim vote. And that's very important in places like Toronto with a high Muslim population. It will split the Muslim vote and probably split a lot of Toronto into the NDP, Liberal, and Conservatives might actually squeak a few more votes out of Toronto because they've been shut out of Toronto over the past few elections, which would be a good thing. So it would be a good thing for the Conservatives. Liberals are not going to get enough seats. The NDP will gain. Israeli Defense Forces claim Hamas fighters are sheltering in Rafah. Of course they are. They're sheltering wherever they can. They're running. They have been pounded and on the run for over a month now. The tunnel network that's hidden these little bastards has been exposed. They're finding more and more tunnels. They're getting closer. All the intelligence they're gathering, all the money they've found waiting. There's videos online. They're showing it. People won't believe it. They think it's propaganda. Or the Israelis are lying. The Israelis have nothing to lose by telling the truth right now. So MPs who refuse to sign on these pledges risk losing the political capital within our communities. Because mosques and Muslim community are popular stops for campaigning politicians. Trudeau has visited mosques across the country for the pre-Ramadan events where in the past he's been greeted by mobs of supporters. Because they voted for Trudeau because he is willing to let them in and give money to their causes. See, there you go, war crimes. They're full of shit. If they really want to help Gaza, go there and fight for Hamas. So the Muslims are going to pressure the Trudeau government for their demands. And will he cave in? Time will tell. In the past, he's appeased them. That's why he goes to the mosque. He gets their votes. It's called pandering. And by doing what he's doing, he's actually hurt Canada more than helped it. But as far as this goes, if I was Prime Minister, I would say, I'd say to hell yeah. This is political blackmail. They're trying to blackmail the government into doing something that most Canadians don't want. Most Canadians would rather pull funding out of UNRWA. And in a democracy, majority rules. The majority of Canadians don't support Hamas. We do not support terrorism, but these Muslim groups want us to support terrorism. And that's where I draw the line on them. But any Canadians out there, let me know what you guys think of this, the Muslim groups trying to blackmail our government. And is it worth it to send an airdrop into Gaza? And should UNRWA be disbanded? Leave comments in the comment section. And until next time, this has been the Great White North Report.
I'm in love with the system.